Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back another video. And I think some things are looking a little bit different here, so that's why I've come on to make you a video today. I'm just going to get straight into it and keep this as short as possible. I don't normally make videos on Sundays, but we'll just jump into exactly what I'm seeing. If you haven't already, it doesn't change anything to do with my weekly newsletter, so please do go and check that out. The thing that I think has changed is potentially short-term structure. After the short-term structure, I really do think it's time for us to head up and continue higher. My issue is, and I've written about this actually a little bit in the newsletter, is I do think we visit lows for altcoins. I think ETH, for example, comes and sweeps the liquidity, and we're going to get into liquidity in a second. This is like in depth from my newsletter. Definitely go and check out what I've got to say about XRP, Bitcoin, etc. I'm just going to close that now. The weekly insight is a link below. So let's just have a look at what I think has changed. So what I've been basically saying is, I think 97k is a strong area of support. It's where the fixed range volume is. I think that Bitcoin's moved up, and then we're in a little correction here. Not a large one. It just feels bad because of the narrative as well as what's going on with price action. But I also at the same time do feel like the narrative right now is much worse than we were last year, and we still haven't had that flush. So I don't know this is why I think something might have changed, because I don't know what narrative could bring this flush, could bring about this flush. And during this narrative, while we've been in this period, it's almost like people have worked out that the narrative's bad, and so they're shorting, trying to see if we go down, and that brings us to this liquidity above us here, and that does concern me a little bit in terms of, obviously it's a move to the upside. It will make an all-time high for Bitcoin, but what I think could happen is there is a potential that we sweep the highs before going down to sweep the lows now, and having a bit of a longer correction here, and then moving up into July. I still think July is going to be decent. It also doesn't mean we have to take this liquidity first. Okay, so I'm just going to try and communicate with you exactly what I'm thinking here. It's quite a hard message to get across. I think at some point we take the lows here for Bitcoin, whether that's a double tap of the 100k, whether we come down to that 97k, or whether we come a little bit further down to this 93, 94k, where there's also liquidity below us. I've been discussing this exact play for a while since we've been up at the highs. It shouldn't be new to anybody, and I still think that happens. Okay. The one thing that I haven't said, and the one thing that has potentially changed, is there is now strong liquidity above us. So is there potential for us to come up higher first and then come down? And my answer to that is I don't know. A narrative, I'm just throwing a random narrative out there that could happen for this to happen. We have a ceasefire in Iran and Israel, for example. We take the liquidity above us. Everyone's getting bullish. All of a sudden it kickstarts again, and maybe worse. I don't know what the narrative would be. I don't know if we're definitely going to get the push up first, but I'm just cautious of that. Now, we could still very easily do exactly what I've said in the newsletter, because I do think we come down first before we go up. I do think, and before we go up, and I'm not talking about just for this liquidity, I'm talking about in terms of larger move to the upside. I think this gets swept somewhere into this area, and we go significantly higher after that sweep. Whether we go higher first before we come for the sweep or not, something again that I am not sure about. That's what I'm trying to say. The reason for that is the same reason that I keep talking about. Ethereum, for example, let's check ETH. Nothing's particularly changed on ETH. We have this dense area of liquidity for ETH between 2,300 and 2,200. And as I've said in the newsletter, and as I keep saying, is that when you get into these dense areas, we do go a little bit lower, because they're all those positions getting stopped out, and that it cascades the price down a little bit more. Now, looking at ETH specifically, this looks like weak price action. I think even the price action on Bitcoin looks weak, but it doesn't mean we can't do something like this. Look, for ETH, we could come up into this area and then reverse, take this liquidity and go. But we also, for ETH, could just roll over, because it does look kind of shit. Just depending on what we do with Bitcoin. I'm just flagging your attention to the liquidity. This move here, since we've had this flush down, we've kind of corrected or continued in this correction sideways, and there's no volume to the sideways move, even though we've slightly come up off the bottom. There's no volume, look, as you can see down here, which indicates to me at some point, doesn't matter how high this price action goes, pretty much, could come all the way to 2.6, could even go higher to like this sort of area here, could go to 2.7, and then it could still flush down. What we're watching for is volume and more promising signs of reversal, of which I don't think we are there yet because we haven't taken that liquidity. I really doubt we come to that 2,380 and don't take that liquidity below us when it's only a further like 5% to eat most of that liquidity up. That's what I said in the newsletter. That's what I've been saying every day on YouTube for a long while. XRP is the same. Let's show you XRP. Price action looks weak, volume's low on the bounce, and look how dense the liquidity is below us. Most likely outcome is we've had this aggressive move down, we've got sort of a consolidation move up, and then we have another aggressive move down and we sweep that low. Whether Bitcoin takes the highs first or not, I honestly don't know. And if Bitcoin did take the highs, maybe XRP comes and takes these highs here first, and then we move down from there. I don't know. It's not what I want to see. I'm just showing you another possible scenario that I've seen. But this structure also is weak. We've moved down into a consolidation pattern, and that's another move down in my opinion. That's also what I'm looking at here. Right, looking at Bitcoin, what we can see on Bitcoin on Velo, using Velo to look at open interest, is while we've been in these positions here, even though price action has just been slowly chopping to the upside, open interest is rising. Volume is still low. It's mainly just people going long, as what we can see. Funding is more heavily positive now. So these are just people, the price being pushed up in my opinion by people going long. You can also see that by our premium slowly becoming cheaper or going towards being green. And if we do then lose these levels, see how I've got this line drawn in here, if we lose these levels, it's probably indicating an aggressive push down because of the extra leverage that's come in, and mainly being long positions, which is what the open interest is showing us. Okay, again, I came on here to say there is potential that we sweep the highs first because of the extra liquidity that I'm seeing and the fact we haven't managed yet to get this flush. All of this changes if we get the flush. If we get this flush, I'll come on tomorrow or Tuesday, whenever we get this flush, if it's short term, and I'll have a change of tune, and I'll give you guys my potential as when I think I'm going to go up. But with this is just corrective price action. That's an aggressive move. Then we're correcting kind of like the price action at the minute is down. So what we've seen is the aggressive move down, and then this is correction back to the upside sort of thing before another aggressive move down. And that's what I would expect to see from this sort of structure. Now, on the aggressive move down, if the choppy price action goes all the way to the highs, this is what I'm saying, is like could go all the way to the highs, take that liquidity out of the highs, and then have a more aggressive move down again, and it could look something like that. Obviously not to scale, but like that's the structure that I'm showing you. That's what I'm saying is a potential now with the liquidity above us. That's all it is, guys. It's no more and no less than that. All alts look pretty similar. XRP again looks weak. You have these like big moves down, corrective period, big move down, and then that's it for me. And then we'll go to the upside. This move here for XRP would be so nice to start to flush. We'd flush all this liquidity here. And that's why I think all this hasn't been taken. Look, well, actually, tell a lie. We've taken some liquidity here, but then we've then started to build up this liquidity. So we've got liquidity below us. That liquidity there would take us into this liquidity area here. So you take this liquidity, which would push us down a little bit further, which would take this liquidity, which would push us down probably to these lows here. And then we are going in long in these sorts of areas and that lines up very nicely with Velo that I show you all the time, and with Trading Different that I show you all the time, where the actual liquidity pools are. That's what I think happens. That's what I think comes next. I've got my bids placed. As you guys know, we talked about the exact prices in the newsletter, so go and check that out. It's just whether we get the push higher first. I don't know. So has anything changed? Will we get this chop up to the upside, or will we see a short-term flush? That's what we're watching for. We're looking at catalysts, probably narratives to do with this war, because that seems to be in everybody's eye right now. Will it escalate? Will it de-escalate for a bit? Will the Genius Act act as a short-term respite for price action? I don't know what the narrative will be, but they're the scenarios that I see playing out. And after this range finishes, so this range I'm going to show you now on Bitcoin, just so we're absolutely clear. After this range finishes for Bitcoin, which is, I'd say, a clear break and holding above like 120, let's say, which isn't significantly higher from where we are now, we just continue and probably go into a large bull market here. And that's what I'm looking for. So that's everything that I wanted to talk to you about today, guys. Tried to keep it short and sweet. I hope you understand why I'm saying what I'm saying. Not come here to be a bad news bear. Come here to be honest and transparent with you guys about what I see in price action. Yeah, and that's everything. Peace up, ATHs, Crypto Insight UK would say. If you did enjoy the video, please do like the video, subscribe and share it with a friend. It helps me out a lot and it's free to do. Also, if you want to use or trade any leverage, try my partner WeX in the description below. They're giving away 20% extra to anyone who deposits their first $100 or more. And I also have a partnership with MEXC. You have another promotion running right now, but I can't remember what that promotion is off the top of my head. But yeah, everything there. Peace up, ATHs, Crypto Insight UK would say.